It is time to tune up the band and hit sweet chin music, for it is another picture perfect sweet Chinwag podcast. I am Sam, joined as ever by Reardon and Dan as we continue our journey through the wacky world of professional wrestling. Hello there, gentlemen. It's been nearly 50 episodes, but I finally got to say it. I did the thing.
We got there eventually.
You did the thing, and I could hear you strain for every word not to mess it up. Amazing.
I did it with a massive smile on my face as well, just making sure I was very conscious that I was making sure I said that correctly. How are we doing this week?
Pretty damn great.
That I detect a hint of sarcasm there, but
No, like genuinely pretty damn great. I mean, of course, there's never-ending amounts of stuff that piss me off, but
oh, like granted, inside and outside of wrestling, I get you on that one entirely, Dan. But
I was gonna say something, and I was like, I kind of at someone, so I can't.
How have you been, Reardon?
I've been all right, mate. I've been busy. I've been so busy.
Yeah.
I've been so busy, you guys.
Oh man! Alrighty then. So
I don't envy you right now.
Oh no, yeah, that I agree on that one.
I know.
As everyone knows, the tireless worker of the Sweet Chinwag podcast is, of course, Reardon.
It never ends.
It never ends. Alrighty, as ever, we give you this podcast thanks to those lovely people over at SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and always, forever pending, your usual and other platforms.
There are like so many now, it's crazy.
I know.
More.
I feel like
More.
I feel like with every kind of that, when there's a podcast feed that goes up, there's about 15 others that have to compete with that one going up. It's like what I was going to say, because just a little throwback and a little nudge, nudge, wink, wink reference to stuff we do. Reardon, it just reminds me of the Agent Smith quote of like, "I hate this place, this zoo." It's the smell. Anyway, before I go right off tangent,
You smell?
before we get on this week's episode, which is all about, of course, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, it is time to mosey on over and visit Dan at the barbershop window for this week's wrestling news.
It's just wrestling news. Wrestling news. I don't know how to do any other rhymes for that, but there you go. Dan, do the thing.
Nah, I mean, to be fair, you did exactly what I was gonna do, so.
Unplanned for those listening in. Unplanned. I just did it off the cuff.
No, like that's I totally expect. It's exactly what I expected, but I'm not mad at it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we'll get straight into it. We'll go straight into the week review. We're starting off with Raw. Started off with a good old big multi-tag match. Again, like to be honest with Raw, there isn't really a whole lot to talk about. We had the Humberto Carrillo and Sheamus match, which has now set out. Well, now we know Humberto has been injured as a result of that match. Possibly also Sheamus, but we haven't heard any reports on him yet. Nasty impact.
Yeah, I watched the highlights. Oh, that did not look good.
We then had kind of a rerun of Lashley versus Drew, and then another, vignette promo segment about Eva Marie's return.
Is it still the evolution?
Yes.
Look, I'll put it to you this way, and a lot of people have said, I think she'd make a great heel manager.
Well, that's what I assume it is, but I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and I'm just being smooth braining right now. Really the only thing with Raw right now is it had a match between Jinder Mahal and Jeff Hardy,
Yes.
Which confused me because I thought I'd already seen that match happen, and I had. I'd seen a card for it on main event.
Yeah, I thought so as well. I was like, hang on, hold up. Haven't we had this match this week already? Or it was like a couple of weeks ago. It felt like it was the exact same match at parts.
And that was the thing. People were saying that they felt like the match was a rerun of the main event match. That obviously that's predicated on you having watched main event, which is like far less than, I think it's only about 600,000 people weekly.
Damn.
But like I was there and I was like, wait, didn't they already have? I'm sure they had a match this week. I looked back and I was like, oh yeah, they were on main event together. And it's like, is main event this like testing ground now? which is even crazier because the thing that kept coming out of main event was people sharing gifs of Ali versus Ricochet.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, isn't main event the place where they put Ali and Ricochet? God damn it.
Like everyone was talking about like moments from those matches. I'm like, so no space on Raw then.
We've done it. We've done it, gents. Nearly 48 episodes in, and we've now finally become jaded of Monday Night Raw. Are you happy now, Vince?
I think the thing for most people is like, especially even people I know who are like still diehard on WWE and aren't like me and like flip between companies like every 2 seconds. Is it even some of them are like, yeah, Raw's just kind of a thing I have on.
Yeah,
people just don't really, not as many, like people watch it and it still gets like a 1.6, 1.7. I'm not going to go into the whole TV ratings discussion because I really don't think it's the right place to have it or have it at all, really. Like people are still watching it, but it seems like a lot of people that do watch it are just kind of watching it out of principles.
Yeah.
Or they're part of a website where they've got to cover the wrestling news.
Also true. But no, going over to NXT, we'll start off with NXT UK, and just to pick up on an observation I saw someone put on Twitter, Noam Dar has been putting in work.
Gosh,
on NXT UK.
He has been
slyly over his time with WWE. He's kind of put on some bangers.
He really has. Like he has knocked it out of the park several times on NXT UK. I think it was Apron Bump that tweeted the other day about how kind of under the radar and how bloody good Noam Dar's been recently. And he has.
I mean, in all fairness, I will arguably never forgive him for the name of his finisher, but
yeah.
But he has been putting in work, and I can't deny that. And he's actually been an amazing talent for NXT UK, especially at the point where they were introducing Shaw Samuels.
Yes, I'm glad to see the Pinky Party in NXT UK. That's for sure. Just a grade O short of the Pinky Party. So that's
yeah.
No,
I can dream.
We could all dream for sure. No, he had a great match against Nathan Carter. A British Rounds match this week.
Yeah.
But damn, it made me go, he's been putting in some really good matches and segments. Like his Supernova sessions are really entertaining to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also want to give a shout out as well to Subculture. Like just
they were going to be the whole faction, as it were, because I know for myself and for Sam, and I imagine for Reardon as well, we all have our own subcultures that we identify within. and seeing this, I don't know what it is. I guess for me, it's kind of seeing this kind of unique blending of distinct UK subcultures.
Yeah.
Because, I know obviously for Sam, mod representation.
Fun fact, I once told Flash Morgan Webster when I met him for one of the first times that he got me back into the mod culture. You should have seen the look on his face. He was so damn happy when I said that.
I don't. Ridden, which out of the two of skater culture and punk culture would you say you identify with closest?
Oh, that's hard. Twist my arm. I'm probably more on the skater side of things, despite not skating at all.
Well,
yeah,
look,
but like I know what you mean. Though.
If you've played Tony Hawk, then you definitely have skated before.
No, that's fair. Then yes, it's skating.
Yeah, because like again, in the same vein, like I kind of identify with both sides of it.
Yeah,
and having like a very distinct kind of element of punk mindset, and it being a very direct inspiration for me.
Yeah.
And so I love the kind of blending of the groups together and kind of the three of them saying like, despite our differences, we stand ourselves out from everyone else.
Yeah.
It's just great seeing Mark Andrews back in the ring.
He love Mark Andrews. Love Flashball Webster and Daddy Luna. They're all great.
Yes. Have you ever had the chance or the pleasure of meeting or chatting with Mark Andrews? The loveliest guy you will ever meet in professional wrestling.
That's pretty good as well.
The loveliest person I have ever met. Too darn lovely, actually, Mark. You're too darn lovely.
And just to follow up with the last bit from there, we have announced that Xia Brookside is no longer competing in the Women's Gauntlet Eliminator and has been replaced with Meiko Satomura. Now, I'm not going to speculate on why Xia Brookside isn't in it. There's theories, I shall say. There have been rumors and theories, but nothing solid as to why she wasn't appearing.
Yeah, I won't. Definitely won't go into details, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But you know, Meiko Satomura, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Meiko Satomura is the now mystery entrant and goes through and wins, and now has another shot at has another match with Kaylee Ray for the NXT UK Women's title.
Which I'm not going to say no to, and it should be that Meiko wins. I'm just saying.
Dude, look, right. I just want Meiko versus Millie McKenzie, all right?
Yeah, like I mean, that's not putting anything against Kaylee Ray because.
Oh no, Kaylee Ray is fantastic. Yeah, Kaylee Ray is amazing. I don't want to take anything away from Kaylee Ray, but also Meiko versus
Millie
McKenzie.
Yeah.
Like I'm just saying, it should be a match that they do. It should be a match that they do before they can't do it anymore.
Yes, I agree on that one for sure.
Moving over to NXT Main, we had Austin Theory versus Karrion Kross, which was like a pretty by the books match.
Yeah, it was an okay match. Your atypical NXT match to build up a feud.
Yeah.
Is that the safe way of saying it?
I think so. We then had Breezango versus MSK, which I'm hoping develops into a feud.
Yeah, this was a good match.
Because I think that those two are basically made for each other.
Oh yeah. Like, I agree on that one. Oh, they were such a good match. Such a good match.
We now have it announced that the next takeover will be another rerun of Takeover in Your House.
The best news about it.
And casted by Todd Pettengill.
That's the best news. Todd Pettengill is back.
Just like last time.
I'm so happy Todd Pettengill's back. Boy of the century. Boy of the decade, and the man who single-handedly saved the new generation in the OSW arc of Lex Luger.
Fucking Lex Luger. We then had Leon Ruff versus Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne is showing an open challenge. Leon Ruff answering. Again, pretty by the books. It's building Pete Dunne. I guess the question is, where does Pete Dunne go from here? Because he's just kind of having matches and then like nothing.
Yeah, I'm afraid of him floundering in the upper mid card.
Well, yeah, it all kind of depends where things work out with the NA title scene, because that's become quite congested.
It really has. I mean, I wouldn't. If it were me, I wouldn't I wouldn't be afraid to keep him in the main event picture for the NXT title, because as you said, there's so many people there in the NA picture. I wouldn't be afraid of putting Pete Dunne in the NXT title. I mean, because for me,
that's
it's
the
that thing
that
of
there's so many people in the NA picture, but when like we had the segment last week, the thing was, it was like there was like 6 people all staking claims for the NXT title.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of just like, what do you do?
Stop poaching people from the Indies, Hunter? Maybe.
I mean, look, I can't stop that.
Can you at least stop him from taking selfies with these guys every time they're signed?
But how will we know if there isn't a picture? If there isn't a picture of Triple H with his arm around their shoulder and him doing the point?
Oh, for God's sake!
How will we know? That's when we know it's official.
Oh boy.
But no, so like it's an odd situation to have when you go, man, our title picture's looking too good right now.
Yeah. Again, it's amazing. It's amazing how good NXT's got it as compared to the rest of the company.
Mercedes Martinez versus Raquel Gonzalez, great Hoss women's match.
Yeah.
NXT is hitting out the park with these now. I do want to see Mercedes Martinez hold the NXT women's title.
Yeah, I think
obviously I know, at least in comparison to quite a fair chunk of the talent on NXT, she is on the older side.
Yeah, I think for a woman as legendary a career as hers has been, it would be such a great cherry on top of the cake to be NXT Women's Champion.
Yeah, like I'm not a huge fan of like thank you runs, but I think that I think there's easily a reason they could give it to her and it wouldn't affect anyone else.
Yeah.
And she's definitely main event material.
Absolutely.
Like, for certain. We had the return of Bobby Fish.
I was so hyped for this.
Question: is that his actual name?
That is indeed.
Yeah.
Robert Fish.
Robert Fish. I don't know how to feel about a name like that. I don't know. I have multiple thoughts about that as a name in general.
Is it because his profession should be a fishmonger and not a wrestler?
I don't know. Because like on one hand,
well, I mean that's what I say to my friend and her family, but
yeah. You see, on one hand, yes. On the other hand, that's the most I'm a wrestler name I have heard in a while, or a mobster.
Either your name's going to be Terry Danger or Bobby Fish. That's at the village hall in outskirt in a home county somewhere like Brighton. There you go. Terry Danger versus Bobby Fish at the Brighton Pier.
Church Hall.
Yes. No, all intents and purposes, though, I'm great to see Bobby Fish back in on the side of Kyle O'Reilly. Is this a Red Dragon reunion? I wouldn't say no to a Red Dragon reunion.
See, like, that's the thing. They should.
They should. Could you imagine that? MSK versus Red Dragon.
And also, like, as I say to people, please, if we're gonna have them, can we have it like Ring of Honor style, where they're a tag team, but they do single stuff as well?
Yes.
Can these things are not, like, they're not exclusive of each other.
Yeah, because you can still have Kyle O'Reilly go for the World Championship and still be a tag team with Bobby.
Like this is a thing that can happen. But let's get on to the highlight of the night for NXT: the Kushida versus Santos Escobar cruiserweight title 2 out of 3 falls match. This match was fantastic.
This match was incredible. It's so good, and I'm just like, yes. Now they finally get what they have with Kushida.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy for that. And I'm so glad he's found a great opponent in Santos Escobar to do that with.
Because it's like I was saying to people before, it's like, people were saying to me, it's like, oh, you wouldn't have realized that Kushida was like a multiple-time IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion and like Best of Super Junior winner from how they were treating him in NXT. And I'm like, look, if he gets that moment though, you're set. And again, the great thing with NXT is that he is able to work his style, and people are willing to work that with him.
Which is, that's such a good thing to see because, well, the person we're talking about in the subject, when people would work that style, he would throw a hissy fit. But it's nice to see people willing to meet him at in his ballpark and go, you know what, I want to work exactly how you work. And Santos keeps up with him and gives it back to him as well. And it's just like such a great... that match in particular is such a great tit for tat in terms of moves, counters into submissions, high-flying spots from Santos as well. And it's just... Damn, that made me realise, that's the cruiserweight match I've been looking for since Buddy Murphy versus Mustafa Ali.
And this is the thing I've been saying to people. It's like, this is why I want eyes on cruiserweight wrestling. Because it can be so, like Buddy Murphy versus Mustafa Ali, or I believe it was Mustafa Ali versus Cedric Alexander.
Yes.
Both fantastic in their own right. Great cruiserweight matches. Or, if you go back, so like the ones I would say will be one most underrated feuds in wrestling. Tajiri versus Rey Mysterio, like 2002, 2003.
Yeah, that was such a good rivalry. Damn, that was good.
Cruiserweight wrestling is so mixed and so varied, and there's so many people doing so many different things with it that it's not limited to the whole high-flying thing. And it's great to see someone like Santos Escobar just go strike for strike.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you talk about that with cruiserweight wrestling, the best person, if you want to go back in time, that comes to mind is Gregory Helms. I mean, we talked extensively about that in our cruiserweight division episode about how
Gregory
good he
Helms,
is.
Gregory Helms. God.
Could you imagine him versus Kushida?
Because didn't Dean Malenko do WCW cruiserweights?
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, Eddie was working WCW cruiserweights. Chris Jericho was working there. Too Cold Scorpio.
Alex Wright.
Alex Wright.
So varied, and ultimately that is what the division needs.
Yeah, and I'm again, like, NXT's commitment to the cruiserweight division has been fantastic, and I am so happy that they have it and they're putting time into it.
Yeah, I mean, what better way to do it than give it to arguably the greatest light heavyweight in professional wrestling today? I'd say that.
Yeah, no, like the point is there, and I think it stands.
Yeah, absolutely. No, go out of your way to watch it. Breeden, especially if you haven't seen it, watch the highlights, then watch the full match. If you were tempted by the highlights,
I'm probably going to be tempted by the highlights. So yeah, sounds good.
We'll just quickly move over to AEW before we get to SmackDown. We had Yuji Nagata versus Jon Moxley. Again, amazing. Exactly what I expected. Exactly what I wanted. Two of them beating the hell out of each other.
It was great.
Going move for move. The only things I could pick out are so slight, I argue they hardly make a difference.
Agreed. I know there were a couple of things that I thought that were a bit off, but then again, it's like, well, that's me nitpicking. That is just me purely nitpicking at it. But no, God, this match was good. This was great. Little thing as well. Thank you, Tony Khan, for buying the rights to Wild Thing for Jon Moxley.
You gotta get the Onita tribute in. Meanwhile, Onita's busy booking explosion matches again.
So does this mean the joint partnership of the Forbidden Door opening between FMW and and AEW? I mean, honestly, talking of that, I would like to see Nick Gage versus Onita in an exploding barbed wire death match.
Well, maybe the revived FMWE. The E stands for explosion.
Yes.
That could be a possibility.
No, great match.
No, also in that same show, SCU no longer together.
I liked this match.
See, I liked this, but the problem I had was that, well, a certain tag team that was in the match, but also it basically felt like they gave it no coverage.
No, I agree. That was horrible.
They were just kind of like, okay, cool. I guess they're not a tag team anymore. I'm like, haven't you guys been like building this for like, the last couple months?
Exactly. And for guys as legendary as Daniels and Kazarian, it was kind of a bit of a bum note to end it like that.
Yeah.
Also, I liked this match up until a certain point, and I think it is the ending, and you know what I'm talking about about that. It just seemed unnecessary for the Bucks to take the mick out of the Flair Michaels moment. But maybe that's just me. It seemed a bit too on the nose as well as a little bit unnecessary.
I think the thing for me is that I don't know. I feel bad saying this, but I feel like it was completely unnecessary. Like, I don't know that it did anything to add to the match. I don't even know that it really got the reaction that they wanted.
Exactly. I think, if anything, it could have...
It just kind of felt in kind of poor taste, but...
I think,
again, I know like some people saw it and were like, "Oh, that's great," or "That's really funny."
No, I can understand that to a certain extent for the people that did find enjoyment in that. I just felt wasn't needed, especially because of the visual of Daniels already being busted open hard way, quite bad.
Oh yeah, he was.
I think he was
wearing red pretty hard.
A simple super kick to a very groggy Daniels would have been a good ending to that. I think you could have easily called an audible if you booked that to be the ending. If you'd seen what had happened to Daniels, I'd be like, no, you know what? Let's just have it a very kind of... Let's do it differently. I'm going to call an audible. He's groggy. He's on spaghetti legs. I'll just super kick him for the 3 count, and that'll be that. But I don't know. I'm not the booker, so I'm not the executive vice president of AEW. So what do I know?
Moving on, I quite like the swerve on the swerve to Omega as a result of the match between Orange Cassidy and Pac.
Yeah.
With it being whoever wins gets the title opportunity. It goes to a no contest because of interference, and then it's actually a triple threat now.
Yeah. Speaking of audibles, apparently in that match, Orange Cassidy did take quite an awful bump. And they had to kind of call the match on the fly because apparently it was going to end as a double disqualification or a double count out. But Cassidy took a bump on his head and it was was a bit loopy, was knocked a bit loopy after that. So they had to kind of think on the fly, and that's what happened with the double. Was it the double DQ? It was a double DQ, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so.
So yeah, I hope he's all right. He said he's fine, but we're getting a triple threat match for the AEW Championship, and I'm really excited to see Cassidy in the main event for the AEW title.
If Pac wins,
I mean, could you? I mean, I would love to see that happen. Like, I genuinely love to see
I'll
that
lay
happen.
myself down here, and I'll say if Pac wins, I'll go out and buy some Nuki Brown.
Just to be...
I gotta do it to represent.
Yeah, you gotta represent.
There you go. There you go. We'll do a live recording of Dan drinking Nuki Brown Ale.
Yeah, that's what the people really want to see. Just finally though, moving over to Darby Allin versus Miro. Miro, new TNT champion. A lot of people have been wondering when that's gonna happen. Basically,
Yeah. A lot of people said Miro floundered when he debuted in AEW. I felt like he was having fun more than anything else. Was trying to rediscover the fun.
I think Miro was his priorities were just in a different place.
Yeah, I think he was there purely to reinvigorate his love and his fun for professional wrestling.
So like there are other people that other podcasts and stuff that I've spoken to throughout the course of doing this, who have said, and again, respectfully agree to disagree on different things. Of course, we don't know. The guy himself hasn't said to us, but I just kind of saw it as he probably just wants to do something different, change up how it is in his head, get himself into a new space, and then worry about the next bit.
Yeah.
And again, as much as I am doing personal reckoning and stuff around Darby Allin and his title reign and stuff like that, I do have to say that amongst everything and in acknowledgement of it, AEW have done a fantastic job of making him important.
Yes.
And giving him, and basically, I guess I'd say legitimizing him to their audience.
Indeed, I wholeheartedly agree with that one. I think this match exemplified that.
Yeah, I mean, again, I have other bits about how it, the kind of in-ring character he has, which has kind of changed.
What do you mean? I thought he changed the name of his song to "I'm Sting," wasn't it?
Well, no, because at the start it was kind of like he's just someone that's gonna do stuff. He doesn't care about his body as long as it does damage to the other person. Whereas now it's just Darby Allin gets beaten up for 20 minutes.
That is true.
But even still, I again with the title reign and how he's been, and I guess also by Sting being there, I don't really know what Sting's done in this whole thing, but he's been there.
He's around,
and that draws people and numbers. So
yeah. But I think what they have done is they have legitimized Darby Allin to their audience.
Absolutely, because there was a worry, and I think we even discussed it, that we were worried that it was going to be, because Sting's there, because he's the bigger draw, it's going to kind of take the spotlight off of Darby.
It's the Sting show.
But if anything, it's been the complete opposite. And that's kind of refreshing to see as a wrestling fan, that the younger guy's actually been the one with all the time and the spotlight in his face. That's great. It's a shocking thing to see. Take notes, Vince. That's how you do it.
And then just quickly, for the end of it, we'll just run over to at least what we think is next week. Looks like there could be a match between Miro and Lance Archer, or some kind of segment between the two of them.
Ooh.
We have Serena Deeb versus Red Velvet. The Young Bucks versus Varsity Blondes. Christian Cage versus Matt Sydal. Super excited for that one.
Yeah.
Anthony Ogogo versus Austin Gunn, and The Acclaimed versus John Moxley and Eddie Kingston.
Excellent.
I'm just going to say I'm leaving it till next week to address Cody's promo, because I cannot find the words to accurately convey my thoughts.
I wholeheartedly agree with that one.
I was able to like vaguely summarize it in a couple of messages in some Discord servers, but other than that, I haven't been able to.
It is.
So I'm
I
going to
will
leave it to next week.
I will leave it to next week, but I will give you a preview of it. Was one of the most head scratching moments I have ever witnessed in a wrestling show.
But just quickly going through SmackDown, Natalya and Tamina, the new women's tag team title holders. I think it's odd that they did it on an edition of SmackDown, but
There we go. I mean, after 11 years, Tamina finally has a championship to her name.
I don't know why they couldn't have done it at Backlash, but
Yeah.
sure. But no, I mean, I'm happy for them, and I'm happy that it kind of. I feel weird saying it. I feel like it's kind of freed Shayna Baszler.
Yeah.
She is free from her shackles.
What, of my hole?
Yeah.
Yes.
Of the last like 6 months.
Yeah, no, I agree. with
However
that
long
one.
it's been at this point. But no, I'm hoping that opens up some opportunities for them. I'm super happy for Tamina, and I mean Tamina is looking super important and a real vested interest for them right now.
As I said, man, 11 years, finally.
And the
That
thing
time.
is, it's happened without the assumed passage that everyone was going to take, which was she was just going to join up with Roman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
She's done this on her own steam with Natalya.
which is a bloody good thing to see.
Rey Mysterio wins over Dolph Ziggler, and we have more further build for Cesaro and Roman's match coming at Backlash.
You know, I don't know why the phrase of Rey Mysterio won against Dolph Ziggler shocked me as much as it did, but it's 2021 and I'm like, yo, Rey Mysterio?
Yeah, to be fair, that fully could have been a match that was booked in like 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's,
That match fully
there's
could have
your
been booked
problem.
like 10 years ago.
There's your problem.
I think that's what's freaking me out as much.
Absolutely. Moving on to matches that couldn't have been booked 10 years ago. Baron Corbin beat Shinsuke Nakamura.
Oh, for frick's
Ow.
sake.
Ow, that was a... Ooh,
Baron
that was
Corbin wasn't wrestling.
What?
What?
Was it in 2011?
No, he was still playing football, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, why did
No,
this
Baron
happen?
Corbin wins, and then Shinsuke hits him with a Kinshasa after the match and then steals his crown and wears it and is incredibly dramatic. And all I have to say is iconic. I love him.
It's not as good as his spiky crown from New Japan, but I'll take anything if it
Yeah,
means
but
he
he
can be King of
also,
Strong
but he
Style
also,
again.
but he also had full leather gear, fireworks, and pole dancers in the background.
That is true.
That is true.
I will
and
take
I don't
any
think,
vestige of King of Strong Style now.
like, I literally don't think we can get that kind of energy ever again. It's in the
Oh,
ether
no.
now.
That is exclusively Wrestle Kingdom energy.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, if they want to give us some prerequisite to King of the Ring returning, hell yes. If they wanted, I don't know, give it to Shinsuke so they could, I don't know, perhaps be the full-time King of Strong Style.
Yes.
That, I don't know, could perhaps lead to a Universal title shot, maybe.
Oh, please just don't call him King Nakamura.
Um,
Or King Shing. Oh no, they would call him
King
King
Shin.
Shing, wouldn't they? Oh, Jesus Christ, they would.
all right. Moving on.
Please.
Further build between Bianca Belair and Bayley ahead of their title match at Backlash, and then we have the four-way title match for the Intercontinental title, also booked as well. But I can't remember if they booked that for Backlash or not.
I saw good friend.
I want to say they booked it for Backlash.
I just want to shout out Josh, our good friend Josh of the podcast, who tweeted out the promo picture for that four-way, and Sami Zayn still is not looking at the camera. He's looking to the left and looks very excited, like he's just seen something that very much pleases him. It's the most amazing still I've ever seen.
Personally, my favorite moment of this segment was when Big E said, like, this is the biggest joke award ceremony since Macklemore won Best Rap Album, which is an experience I feel viscerally.
Yes.
As anyone who knows me and gets to talk to me about music will hear me say that.
I'm guessing you're not a fan of Macklemore by any chance.
It's
on.
it's more. I'm a much bigger fan of Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah. Because who isn't?
But no. It's, again, pretty good segment. All in, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I am gonna be here and say this, that I hope Sami Zayn is able to keep his position. After what he's recently been saying and using his platform for. Because I am worried about.
I'm very worried as well, considering that have been a few sportsmen that have done that, and it's looking like they're being reprimanded for what they're saying. But I'll put it to you this way: Sami Zayn, when he debuted in NXT, wore a shirt, a very on the button shirt, and he didn't. No one batted an eyelid at that. So,
like, Sami Zayn is not the person to just hide away from it.
And
he's going to say it loudly.
I respect the hell out of him for doing so.
Absolutely. Just moving on to some final additional bits as well. As everyone's heard the news recently, New Jack recently, also Jerome Young recently passed.
Yeah, this one. Oh man, this one was very. I wasn't expecting it.
58, right?
At 58 years old, that's again, it's too darn young. These
So
wrestlers go
young.
way too young. And I'll say this, I had my ups and downs and my negative thoughts about Jack, especially the way he, certain things, certain incidents that had happened with Jack in the ring. Sometimes I would say he did go a bit too far with it. But he does live in the folklore of professional wrestling and for ECW, and you can't help but respect him for that. And the fact that, for all intents and purposes, when he was, when he was on his good side, when you're on his good side, he was a genuinely lovely person. So he also did great cameos. I've seen one in particular that's been making the rounds on Twitter that's absolutely hilarious.
Oh, yeah?
So it looked like he had his life together as well. Like he had he was married, he had a loving wife. He looked like he was really kind of trying to, get on the straight and narrow with stuff. But no, and that's the bit I think that sucks the most.
Yeah, I can't and won't make any excuses of some of the stuff he did, because some of the stuff he did was terrible. Utterly terrible. I think my hope is that at the end he had found some peace. I think that's the best way of putting it.
Absolutely. I hope that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very much in the same boat as Raiden. I am very conflicted over his legacy and his reverence. But I can't be there to deny other people the connection that they felt toward him or how important they deemed him to be, because he was fundamentally an important part of a company, and there were people that genuinely liked him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And his Dark Side of the Ring episode was actually a really compelling watch.
Fascinating to watch. Really fascinating.
Just moving on again, the Hana Kimura and Mitsuharu Misawa memorial shows will be going ahead. They have stated the Hana Kimura one is going on as planned, which I believe is the 23rd of May.
Mm-hmm.
And the Misawa one will also be going ahead as well on the originally proposed date. And then just finally as well, Ring of Honor now bringing back Survival of the Fittest for June.
Hey, there you go. Throwback and a half.
We're getting all kinds of old school, but with that, we are done with the news.
Awesome. So, we've got a couple of recommendation corners to go through. Chaps, I'm going to do a pretty long one for mine. I know Reardon has one as well, but I definitely want to talk about the first 3 episodes of Dark Side of the Ring Season 3. How I really, really enjoyed the Brian Pillman episode, the 2-parter of that, as well as it just being a bloody gut-wrenching and heartbreaking story, especially for Brian's kids. I thought, oh my goodness, these kids have been through so freaking much. Brian Jr. especially has been through a hell of a lot, and he went through a hell of a lot in his childhood. But Brian is such a compelling character in the world of pro wrestling, and the way he was able to finagle getting out of his contract at WCW to then go and work for WWF under the pretense that he was going to eventually come back to WCW. But reports would suggest that Brian was actually looking for just more money and was looking to get out of WCW altogether. And of course, his promo style, his character of the loose cannon was just like, he went all in on that. Even when he was in the back and no cameras are on, he went full on with his character, to the point where most people had thought that when he had that car accident, everyone thought he was working them because, and I shit you not, Reardon, a lot of people thought he was actually having plastic surgery to look like Shawn Michaels, to be his evil twin.
Good lord.
That's how good Brian Pillman was at working the boys.
Jesus.
And the third episode of Dark Side of the Ring was, of course, Nick Gage, which again was, I think, is up there as one of my personal favourite episodes of Dark Side of the Ring. Again, another really kind of up and down story of Nick Gage, going from a cult deathmatch wrestler in the beginning of CCW to then becoming an icon really for the American scene, especially in death matches. They talked about, how during the Tournament of Death, he practically died for 7 minutes. They talk about his unfortunate troubles with drug addiction, which led him to, of course, the bank robbery that happened, and when he was jailed for 5 years. And then, coming back to finally kind of, redeeming himself and, getting on the straight and narrow. And now he's kind of become quite a universally loved person in the world of wrestling, to the point where Jon Moxley did say that Vince McMahon would kill for anyone to have the sort of connection to an audience that Nick Gage has. And you know what? I tend to agree with Mox on that one.
I think an important thing with that statement is a lot of people completely misinterpreted it. Which is, they took it as Vince McMahon would kill to have a wrestler like Nick Gage, and that isn't what he's saying.
No.
Or at least to my mind, that isn't what he's saying. And to my mind, he is saying is that people who are fans of Nick Gage, and like I count myself among them, feel, it is a close connection. You just you want to support him.
Absolutely. For a guy that really does support human rights such as gay and trans rights as well, and you wouldn't think of it for a guy like Nick Gage, who is so ultra violent and so kind of in your face with his violence. He'd be like, yeah, I support gay rights. Be like, you're the man. Please don't hurt me. And of course, what wouldn't be an episode on Nick Gage if they didn't talk about his match with David Arquette?
Yeah.
But no, Dark Side of the Ring, again, they're knocking it out of the park, and I'm really excited for the rest of the season, especially with some of the episodes that are coming up as well. Some really intriguing subjects they've got.
The next one that's coming up is Collision in Korea.
Which I am so, interested in listening to other people's perspectives on that. There is a great video by the YouTuber called Kim Justice. I don't know if it's on YouTube anymore, but when she did one, she talked about the whole Collision in Korea. Absolutely, if you can find that or subscribe to her Patreon, she has that up there. Such an incredible watch. But no, I'm looking forward to that one in particular. Reardon, your recommendation, please, sir.
Yes, my recommendation is a simple one, Castlevania Season 4, which is out by... God, Netflix is so terrible at, advertising.
Yeah.
Because I only found out that it was properly out today at the time of this recording. It is ridiculous. I saw the teaser and it's just out now. But as of the time of this recording, I'm like halfway through. It is fantastic. I didn't like this first season at all. I
I know what
don't
you
like
mean.
the first season. I honestly think was pretty bad, but it has gone from strength to strength. Holy
Absolutely.
hell! And the fight scenes are, oh
They're
man,
good. They're so
oh
good, aren't they?
man, oh, they're so good. There are a few that I won't spoil, but I will say it has some of my favorite animated depictions of super speed
Yes.
that I've ever seen. Dear Lord, some of those moves. And yeah, like once you get onto certain episodes, you'll know what I mean. But that is definitely my recommendation.
No, great choice there. Great choice indeed. Alrighty then, with that all done and out of the way, let us talk about the person who gave us the name for this podcast. The man, the myth, the legend, Mr. WrestleMania, the Showstopper, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. So, first question. I'm going to go straight out of the gate with this one.
Mm.
What for you, gentlemen, makes Shawn Michaels so darn great? What was it that attracted you to Shawn Michaels and made you go, yeah, this guy's good?
In one word, I'm going to say versatility. I would say is the thing that comes to mind with Shawn Michaels.
It's funny you say that because I was literally going to say his versatility as well, Rita.
Yeah,
Damn you.
it's no, but it's true. The sheer I don't know. I can't think of a wrestler like that can do everything.
Hmm.
Even even like Ric Flair, who you could make an argument. I'm not going to get into the argument. You could make an argument that he is the greatest wrestler of all time.
Hmm.
Not getting into an argument. Do not add us. But let's just put him as an example. As unbelievable as Ric Flair could be, he couldn't do everything.
Hmm.
Or at least there were certain things that he wasn't as good.
Hmm.
I don't like at his peak, I don't know if there is a wrestling match, a wrestling style that Shawn Michaels could not do, could not make work. And
Yeah.
and you kept on like watching him thinking like he can't do that. And he would do it. If you want like pure technical wrestling, you can like I don't know a wrestler where I could like you could go down the list of types of matches and find a Shawn Michaels example in literally every single one.
Yeah.
I don't know many wrestlers that could do that.
I agree with you
And
on
I
that
and,
one.
and I think and the fact that he did that in an era of constant, and I do mean constant change and evolutions in wrestling, like styles and what kind of different types of audiences, and still remaining relevant with caveats. We'll get into it.
Hmm.
Over that point of time, he wrestled almost consistently in one of the most shifting landscapes in professional wrestling history, and was relevant and had great matches in every single era. That's not something you can say about everyone, and I think that's what kind of shocks the living crap out of me when it comes to looking at his body of work.
Yeah. I think that. I think that pretty much sums it up. I mean, unless you want to add anything as well to that.
Um, I mean, yeah, that covers most. I guess the thing for me that I guess the thing for me that did it was as a younger wrestling fan, I was always drawn to, I mean, is it larger than life characters?
Mm.
And I mean, you don't really get much larger than life than Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
Like, I can't lie. If you're willing to come out to a theme song which is called Sexy Boy, I feel like you've got to have that confidence.
That is true. I mean, for a gimmick that was originally supposed to be just a straight up stripper, he certainly did turn it into a much larger than life character, didn't he?
He kept it after he became a born again Christian.
That's the thing. What made him so great is when from anything from a house show to WrestleMania, every time he would step through that curtain and do the entrance, you felt like, oh my god, this is the best, most important match of the bloody year.
That's the thing. It's like I was just always drawn to him because I was like, I guess it's that thing. If you see him for the first time, you go, "Who is this person?"
Dancing in chaps.
Dancing in chaps and chainmail.
No, that's damn. That pretty much kind of sums up, I think, not just ours, but that is a pretty good summation of, I think, why a lot of people love or might think that Shawn is so damn good. Alrighty. Before we get on to what we usually like to do with these retrospectives, talking about our favourite moments and matches, it is a very brief, and I'm going to try and make it as brief as possible, but we'll see how far we get with this one. A very brief history into the life and career, I should say, of Shawn Michaels. Okay. Born Michael Shawn Hickenbottom in 1965, the youngest of four, and grew up in a military family. So this fun fact, because of his upbringing being in a military family, he briefly spent time living in Reading.
Really?
Hold tight, Reading.
Yep, before calling San Antonio, Texas his home. So yeah, he spent a little bit of time in Reading. I believe this is where he said he became a Blackburn fan. If you've seen that promo of the I think it was the final game of the season for Blackburn during their Premiership win, and Shawn Michaels was there talking about how much he was a fan of Blackburn Rovers.
That's unbelievable.
I think the operative part of that is when he became a Blackburn fan while living in Reading.
Yeah,
That's supposedly the folklore tale to go by in that promo, but something tells me I doubt that very much. I don't know why. I mean, stop me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it's like he's there. He's been invited there, and they're on the house shows tour. Yeah, he's just saying that because he's at Blackburn, isn't he? Apparently, Shawn Michaels doesn't remember that he was at Blackburn, so there you go.
I think of many reasons why that might be the case.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that. Okay, so yes, he was a standout athlete in high school football, was a linebacker, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah, for a guy his height and size, you wouldn't think of him as a linebacker, would you?
I really wouldn't.
He would soon leave college. He attended the Southwest Texas State University. Shortly into his, I think might have been his first or second semester, to pursue professional wrestling, which was one of his childhood passions. I mean, he ended up loving professional wrestling ever since the age of 12. And of course, as everyone knows, Ric Flair was one of his favourite wrestlers. It would have been during his time in college. Ric Flair was kind of like, I think it was the impetus for him to go, you know what, no, screw it, I'm going to go pursue professional wrestling. So he would be trained by Jose Lothario, and shortly after beginning his training, he adopted the ring name Shawn Michaels, because he does not like being called Michael. He does not like that name, so mostly kind of his entire kind of life, he's always been called by his middle name, which is Shawn.
Okay, Michael ain't so bad. No.
Weird, isn't it? It's just a weird little fact there about Michaels. But no, his debut was on the 8th of October 1984 at NWA Mid-South Wrestling in a match against Art Cruz. Despite the loss, he impressed many veterans in the locker room that night. I mean, immediately from there, a lot of people could see that he had an agility, a ring awareness, and a technical ability that was leaps and bounds over people, of his peers. Starting out, even to some of the veterans as well, they could tell that there was something really special about this guy. From there, he would tour the southern states, popping up in NWA, World Class Championship Wrestling, and Texas All-Star Wrestling. He'd make his national television debut in AWA at the age of 20 in a victory against Budokan. Yes, no, not Johnny Ace going, Budokan!
Wait. Budokan?
Yes, Budokan. Literally, it's spelled Buddha. Budokan, but Budokan.
For a moment, I was gonna say, what? They just name a team after the fucking venue in Japan.
I was actually gonna say like what they changed the name of the famous Celtic warrior.
Budokan. I was gonna go for Johnny Ace going the Budokan.
Okay, sure. Shawn Michaels versus Budokan Hall.
I know it's confusing, but it's what it says on Cage Match. So he defeated
I can't
a wrestler.
wait until we see Shawn Michaels versus Korakuen.
That's the retirement match everyone's been waiting for. Anyway, sorry. Age 20 though, insane that he'd make his national debut at just 20.
Yeah, that's young. That's so young.
Especially for that time. That is crazy to be at that age and be on national television.
I was gonna say for that time, even now.
Yeah, even now, like 20 years old.
Unless you're in the UK, that's veteran age, basically, age 20.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I have a joke, but I'm not gonna say it.
I'll nip that in the bud very quickly. All right.
I cannot get away with saying. I mean, I can, but I won't say it. I can definitely get away with saying it.
Say it off record. No. Anyway, whilst in AWA, he would form a team with Marty Jannetty and would build as the Midnight Rockers. Basically, almost like, I would say like a modern incarnation of the Midnight Express, but then like the Midnight Express was still like the over tag team, and they were still kind of way into their career. So it's like they weren't like a modern incarnation, but they were still like in their time period.
Basically, they were just the Midnight Express, but with a word changed for safety reasons.
Yes, yes, and they definitely didn't have their gimmick, their gear, and their moves copied straight off of the Midnight Express.
Completely different team.
I would tell you a fun story about the Midnight Express that was in Jericho's autobiography, but that is going way off tangent. But I won't say. I will bring that up
one day. We'll do it when we get round to doing an episode on the Midnight Express.
Honestly, It is very well worth doing that because they are a very interesting and intriguing tag team that are still wrestling to this day.
Yeah, Ricky Morton's still wrestling, which is crazy.
And they're popping off Canadian Destroyers as well. But, enough about that. I'll digress. Let's get into the Rockers and their WWF debut. Originally debuting in 1987, Shawn and Marty were renamed the Rockers, but were fired 2 weeks later after signing due to a bar fight.
Now, if that isn't the most Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty thing.
Yeah.
So they shortly went back to AWA afterwards and captured Tag Gold twice, but they eventually ended up re-signing to the Fed a year later. So they were a mainstay tag team at that time during the Golden Era. They would put on great tag matches on the mid card and would have amazing rivalries with Power and Glory, sometimes with the Legion of Doom and the Hart Foundation. With that rivalry, they unofficially won the tag titles in the process. So technically, they never won Tag Gold, but there was a recording and a match against the Hart Foundation where they did win the titles. But unfortunately, I think that was null and void because the top rope snapped. And so they forewent the recording. They scrapped that recording, and rather than just re-recording the match, they kind of made the Rockers tag victory for the tag titles null and void. Which is a sucky situation.
Yeah, that's kind of odd situation, actually.
I mean, it was beyond their control. It was beyond both teams' control. And I watched the match as part of the research here. They still put on a decent match even without a top rope. So I would have still went with it. But...
It was weird because I think part of it as well was that was it Jim Neidhart was having a contract dispute and So like they were constantly going back and forth, and they're like, oh, okay, well, I guess if he's not going to re-sign, then we'll give you guys the tag gold. And like when they agreed that, Neidhart was like, I'm good. I've got my deal.
Mm,
So
yeah.
again, it's the golden era of backstage politics.
A sentence that we're never going to hear in this podcast ever.
Indeed.
That is the last we're going to hear of it in this episode.
So Shawn and Marty had a number of altercations that would eventually lead to the tag split. A bar fight that happened when Roddy Piper showered praise on Shawn and Marty got a little bit pissed off. Caused them to have a fight. And a photo shoot where they were a photo shoot for a WWF serial where they were paid less than the Legion of Doom. And Marty, completely incensed that they got paid less than the Legion of Doom, went and turned their notice in for the ambition to jump to WCW. Now, here's the thing: Marty did this of his own volition. Shawn didn't want to leave, despite the fact, like, after Marty had done it, Shawn was like, "Yeah, I'll join you. That's fine. Cool, I'll do that." So Marty went and contacted Magnum TA. To negotiate a contract, and it was going to be better money than they were getting at WWF. All good, all awesome. Shawn did a little bit of prying. Turns out Marty wasn't contacting Magnum TA at all, and instead was contacting journeyman and lower card talent Joey Maggs. Shawn, a little bit pissed off with this, decides to call Magnum TA straight up and says, "Look, what's happening? Are we getting offered contracts? And if so, how much?" Magnum TA says, "No, but I'll see what I can do." And they lowballed them an offer, WCW. So at this time, they've just left the WWF. Vince didn't want Shawn to leave. Shawn's pissed at Marty because Marty was promising higher money and said he was working with Magnum TA. Turns out that doesn't happen. Really pissed off with him, he goes back to Vince, asks for their jobs back, and once they come back, Shawn says, "I want to work on my own, so we're gonna, as soon as we get signed, I'm out of this. We're gonna work on a storyline, and I don't want to work with you ever again."
Huh.
I mean, if you're ever gonna have a justified reason to do that, that is one of them.
Yeah, that is the most justified backstage politicking I've heard from Shawn Michaels of this era. That he literally was not the aggressor on this one.
So no, take what I say with I guess you could say with a pinch of salt, but he has said it in his autobiography and his documentary that he did for WWE. And he's, both of them seem like both of them are pretty much the same story. So I'm pretty safe to say that probably a good 80 to 90% of that is true. But no, this would lead, of course, to the barbershop window incident happening in December 91. That would eventually air in January of 92. During Brutus Beefcake's barbershop segment, Shawn and Marty seem to reconcile their differences, only for Shawn to superkick Marty and throw him through the window, solidifying his heel turn and, of course, becoming the Heartbreak Kid that we all know and love. Fun fact, it was Kurt Hennig that suggested the nickname of the Heartbreak Kid.
Yeah.
So
I can see that.
Along with this, and adopting a new, more cocky persona and aligning himself with Sensational Sherry, who would sing the second version of Sexy Boy. Of course, we all know the first and the demo version of Sexy Boy was sung by
Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
Kennedy McMahon.
And so we're off to the races. We're off for the Shawn Michaels we all know and love.
I have to say though, as a sidebar, Sensational Sherry, amazing manager for the era.
She was.
Oh yeah,
and almost perfect for Shawn at this time.
Oh yeah.
With one little difference, I say we're at the races with the Shawn we all know and love. His finisher at this time was a back suplex.
Yeah.
And it wasn't it was a super kick that was kind of his repertoire. It wouldn't be until at least a year or a couple of years later that he would use Sweet Chin Music as his finisher.
Wow.
And only then it was still called the super kick.
Yeah, do we know why How did the name Sweet Chin Music even come about? Do we have any idea?
For the life of me, I know there's a story to it. This is terrible of me, to the guy who researches this. I believe it might have been a name coming from what I think might have been one of the road agents, Vince or Shawn himself, that came up with the name Sweet Chin Music. And it was Shawn that came up with the idea of delaying it by doing the tuning up the band alongside Jim Ross. So it's a combination and a hodgepodge of lots of people's different ideas that eventually ended up, of course, being the most iconic super kick of all time.
Oh yeah,
I'd say that. But no, yeah, I've just trying to have a quick look here about if there was anything about the origins of Sweet Chin Music. Let me just have a quick look-see while we're here. Sorry about this, guys. Yes, of course. It was it was Shawn's idea. From a quote here, Michael says, not a lot of things were planned for the Heartbreak Kid character. I was able to evolve and find that character over time. The Sweet Chin Music, I can remember making the comment about a Roger Clemens fastball in baseball, and they would say, "Oh, a little Sweet Chin Music from Roger Clemens to back him off the plate." And I mentioned it to Vince Russo, and from that point, Russo began to assert into a promo idea, and felt like it was a great name to differentiate what everyone would call a super kick, so to speak, and into a little bit more of a stylized and focused, finishing move for me. There you go.
Yeah.
So there you go. It was a baseball. It's a baseball reference. All right. I'll give Russo credit for that one then.
Thanks, Vince Russo.
Just this once.
Dan, come now.
Just this once, though.
Broken clocks, Dan.
Maybe.
Broken clocks.
All right, so I will quickly run through some of the history. Of course, we all know the great team up and the great duo that was Michaels and Diesel. We all know the story of how Shawn first saw Diesel when he was Vinny Vegas in WCW and was like, I need him. I need him right now. Turns out that Kevin Nash, if you've seen in a very recent documentary, said that he was going to retire and go back to being a bouncer, hence how he was let go from his WCW contract, and then ended up, about a couple of months later, in WWF as Diesel. No.
I can't lie. If you ever see the stories of Kevin Nash talking about, like anything to do with his contracts, he is just so clued on to everything. It's hilarious.
He is the smartest businessman that's ever been in professional wrestling.
Absolutely.
I cannot help but respect Kevin Nash for that.
He is levels beyond everyone else.
But no, truly an iconic duo. I mean, so much so that Vince has been trying to replicate a Shawn and Diesel duo ever since. What's the most recent one? I mean, I dare say the most recent one is AJ and Omos.
That's pretty much what
I was actually thinking of. I was thinking Big Cass.
Big Cass and Enzo, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, to be fair, in the same vein though, I can't really blame Cass for any of that.
True.
He is 7 foot tall, after all.
Can't teach that.
Can't teach that.
I know this is super off track, but I just want to say, just to remind any American listeners we have, they were over huge in the UK.
They were so much.
And the reason is we love anything we could chant.
Yep.
One thing. For another thing, we love our absolute units here.
That is true as well, actually.
Absolutely, we do. Hence why Diesel was very over in this country during his run as WWF champion, funnily enough.
There you go.
Shawn Michaels, on the other hand.
Shawn Michaels, on the other hand. He would end up
not as much after a certain incident.
Indeed. We talk about his IC title runs, of course, and we've gone over his amazing match and rivalry with Razor Ramon, which culminated at WrestleMania 10 in their very first, I say first, I'll put air quotes in, first ladder match. They did test it in the house show circuit, if you look at Cage Match. I mean, Shawn Michaels with that white belt, such an iconic look
White
of the mid
white
90s.
strap IC though. Hell yeah.
And I think it's I dare say, I mean, I know Cody brought it back, but I feel like Shawn is the one that really suits the white leather strapped IC title.
Oh no, he's the one that fits it. Although I will say, like, it looks pretty great on anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, Wade Barrett, for example, is a guy who made that title look great.
Also, side shout to the yellow strap IC.
Oh, yes, from Warriors one, yep.
Yeah, but like slightly lesser than the white strap.
Indeed. And then, of course, we go over to his rivalry with Bret Hart for the WWF Championship. Now, this is where some of the controversy starts to sprout its head a little bit too much here. So, of course, it's no secret, and it's been said by so many podcasts, so many shoot interviews, that Bret and Shawn did not like each other.
I don't know what would ever give you that impression.
You could tell that early on, they sort of had a mutual respect for each other in the ring, because when they worked together, they were pretty darn smooth, especially at the time during the Rockers and the Hart Foundation. But I guess as the WWF Championship was in both of their guys' sights, that all went out of the window quite a bit as well.
To say the least.
To say the least. I mean, it's a thing where it's like when you take two of the most iconic guys in that during that time, and the guys that were carrying that company. Yeah, I mean, I imagine there was going to be some animosity, but I don't think anyone could imagine the amount of animosity that was these two. Of course, we can talk. I mean, it's been said a dime a dozen about the things that have happened. Like during his time with the Hart Foundation, of course, that very infamous promo of Shawn saying, you've been having some sunny days, which was a heavy implication that Bret was cheating on his wife with Sunny.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that Shawn was in a relationship with Sunny when Sunny was in a relationship with Chris Candido at this point, but that's just its whole different kettle of fish.
Yeah. I mean, this is like a side thing out of it, but one of my favorite things is that with like recent interviews he's done, there's this energy that Bret has where he's like, yeah, we buried the hatchet, everything's okay. Everything's fine, and then just everything else he says is just like, I still hate this man intensely with every fiber of my being.
Yes.
Yeah. He every time he talks about it, it's kind of we buried a hatchet, it's all over.
Like, yeah, we buried the hatchet, and we've moved past it at this point. We've grown as people. But like, I still hate the guy with every single fiber of my being, and every day I wake up cursing his name.
I feel like it's that thing of Bret Hart saying, "I will be the one to say when it's over."
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's like he says it. The thing that I think says it. It's weird when they hug. Because it's like they hug and it's like, hey, it's good to see you, buddy. But their body language says just say one thing, so this feud can start again.
Give me the reason.
Give me the excuse I need to finally murder you in cold blood.
So yeah, I mean, I could go over the Montreal screw job, but.
It wasn't a work, you damn carnies.
We said we'll give it its attention at some point.
Yeah,
It's one of those big things that I know it sounds silly that I have to really research, but because it's been talked about so many times on millions and millions of platforms.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that you really have to give it the time of day to talk about. And I feel for this one, I don't feel like. It'd be a bit of a moot point if I have it glanced as like a footnote that only has 2 minutes worth of time.
No, that's fair enough. It wasn't a work.
It's something that you have to mention because it's basically fundamental to Shawn Michaels, the character and the person.
Yeah,
indeed. I mean, it's funny that we're talking about this, but we've talked about. I mean, I would go over all of Shawn's things, but we already have in previous episodes. Let's talk. I mean, the European Championship. We've talked about that. We've talked about his many kind of title reigns here and there, and of course, I would go over DX. But guess what? We have a whole episode about DX in our
Indeed.
archive, which you should go and check out. It's a great
Yeah,
episode.
go check it out. It's a good episode.
Amazing that we have all these like lovely little linked episodes. You can go off and then like get more. You can get the background context.
Exactly. Makes my job so much easier when I'm
We
researching
did the reading
this.
for you.
Yeah.
And of course, his retirement in 1998, which was due to a back injury that he sustained at Royal Rumble 98 in a casket match against The Undertaker.
Watching that match is incredibly painful.
It is incredibly painful. The weird thing is, judging from the angle and how fast the bump happens, you wouldn't think that Shawn messed his back up as bad as he did. But you can see it. But the more you see it, the more you realise that he really caught his back right on the edge of that casket, and he went. It looked like his whole body weight crumpled underneath him when that happened, which sucks. Of course, he would muster through that pain with a lot of prescription medication, and some probably unprescribed to him, unfortunately, to then eventually, dropping
the time,
the belt.
almost definitely.
And of course, dropping that title to Austin at WrestleMania 14, and then retiring to get his back sorted. And of course, I won't go into the demons that he had between then and his return, because even it was pretty obvious when he was WWF commissioner, when he would make sporadic appearances here and there. It was pretty clear to see that Shawn was he was not doing well at all, which is a big shame. It's a big shame. It's not an easy watch when I go back and watch those episodes of Shawn there.
It isn't at all, because you can clearly tell that he was struggling.
But a man who was able to turn his life around, he absolutely did. And if you've read his autobiography or read any of his other books, you know that it was his kids that really got him into shape. Because I think there was one story I heard from Shawn in one of his books that said that his kids were upset that they constantly didn't see him or saw him passed out on the sofa.
Yeah, that's fair.
So he turned his life around, got clean. Of course, as everyone knows, became a born again Christian, and through a lot of goodwill and a lot of saying to Vince, I'm definitely better now. I'm ready to come. I'm ready to come back and at least do the role I was doing when I left. He came back, of course, in 2002 as the surprise member of the NWO. And he was
indeed that was a thing that happened.
And he wasn't meant to come back as a wrestler. And after the NWO died a very quick, a very slow and painful death.
Wasn't he originally going to come back as a commentator?
He was originally going to come back as a commentator. Crazy, isn't it?
No. I mean, because I remember he did they had him on commentary for one show back in 99, I think.
Yes. I think that they were trying to finally do a Brian Pillman with him, where they tried to get Brian to be a commentator.
Yeah, that definitely wasn't working with Brian Pillman.
Indeed, but no. And as I said, it wasn't scheduled to wrestle, but sure enough, when NWO died a slow and painful death due to Kevin Nash's other quad,
it definitely died a death.
We then got, of course, the great rivalry that was Triple H and Shawn Michaels, which led to his return match at SummerSlam 2002. And you could and you could go back and listen to our thoughts on that match in the Triple H Reign of Terror episode.
Yeah.
Great callbacks. I'm loving the fact that there are so many callbacks to this.
It's what it's like when you've done 48 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, it makes our job easier. We can talk about other things.
All right, chaps. So this leads us into our little roundtable session of our favourite moments and matches. And I'm going to start with favourite matches. I'm going to throw it out there. I'm going to say right now, Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels, the Iron Man match from WrestleMania 12. One of my favourite matches. One of my favourite WrestleMania matches as well. Especially from the year previous when we had Lawrence Taylor versus Bam Bam Bigelow in the main event. It's a noticeable step up for sure. Not only just an iconic entrance from Michaels when he rappelled down from the top of the arena, but a great storytelling from the pair of them, how they were not able to not only drag it out for an hour, but make it so high impact and so dramatic and technical for that entire 60 minutes. Great ending to it as well when they went into overtime and sudden death overtime, so the person who scored the first fall would win. A little bit of a tinged kind of like damp note on it was Shawn telling Brett to get the fuck out of my ring after he won. I mean, emotions are running high. He's just won the WWF title in the main event of WrestleMania. I can understand that. But again, this might have been Shawn being a little bit Shawn in this moment. But no, take that. I won't take that away from him. It's a truly iconic moment with the boyhood dream voice clip that has been used so many times since.
Oh yeah, that used to be in the WWE pre-roll.
Yes, it did. It did indeed. No, great match. Chaps, fire away. What are some of your favourite Shawn Michaels matches?
You know what? I'm going to like all of mine are obvious, but I think I just have to point it out. I have to point it out. Shelton Benjamin versus Shawn Michaels in that Raw.
For a match that is so like on a Raw that seems so innocent, it's elevated for just one pure moment.
The greatest.
Yeah, it's called Shelton Benjamin has his head kicked off.
Shelton, the greatest sweet chin music in history, and it wasn't even in like a pay-per-view or anything. That's what amazes me about it. It's the like sweet chin music because they just showed it forever.
Yeah. I would love to know the booking meeting when they were on with the road agent and the two of them in a room calling the match of what they were going to do. And when I wonder if it was Shawn or Shelton that threw out the idea. It was, I tell you what,
I reckon it was probably Shelton.
Oh, it had to be.
I reckon it's Shelton. I reckon. Like, I bet, you know what? For some reason, I think of it as like a dare.
Yes.
like Shelton Benjamin is calling this, and Shawn Michaels like, we're not doing that, and Shelton's like, no, I can totally jump, I can springboard that far. No, you can't springboard that far. It's like, trust me, and like, I was like, all right, because I kind of imagine like, because at that moment, because it's the finisher, it's like the finisher of that match.
Yeah.
It's like because Shawn Michaels actually collapses straight afterwards.
Yeah.
And then like just gets like the great like the great cover on it, and it's just like I just imagine them talking like, holy shit, you actually did it! Like, told you. And before I move on, I just have to say that's why you get your camera angles right, guys. God damn it!
Are you talking about AEW by any chance there, Ed?
I just...
Oh, no, wait. I know exactly who he's at.
Yeah, exactly.
First name Kevin, second name rhymes with un.
Ah, I get it now. Kevin Munn. Got it.
Yeah.
Dan, what have you got for me, sir?
Yeah, so... other than obviously the big two, which we're going to mention.
Oh, obviously.
And can't really avoid mentioning. Got to give a shout out to Michaels versus Cena from WrestleMania 23.
Oh yeah,
yes, that was a great match.
Love that match. That's a great match. And not just because it's from one of the WrestleManias I actually had on DVD when I was younger. No, genuinely an amazing match, and really gets the best out of Cena.
Oh yeah.
But one that maybe goes under the radar a little bit. Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho from No Mercy 2008.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to talk about two of the best matches those two had, which was the one at Mania 19 and that
match
one
goes crazy.
That match,
it's not least for just the ladder Walls of Jericho spot.
Oh, and of course the ladder breaking Jericho's tooth.
Yeah, but no, that match actually goes. That match goes really hard.
That storyline in general, I think, is one of Michael's best storylines.
Oh, absolutely.
The Jericho Michaels storyline was fantastic. And of course, I've told the story. I believe I've already told the story, of course, of when Jericho clocked Michaels' wife in the face. But deliberately and then backstage, well, not deliberately, but accidentally, he actually went and full on hit her in the face. To which she said in the back, "Oh God, you can hit harder than that, can't you, Jericho?"
Because what else do you expect from Shawn Michaels' wife?
No, these matches are great. Both are so wholly different. One of them being an absolute technical masterpiece that was WrestleMania 19, and that No Mercy one being a high stakes, highly dramatic, all out brawl of a ladder match as well. Shows how, again, it's that word, versatility, and how well those two really worked together. Outstanding those ones were. I also want to bring up, I'd say the third best match he had at WrestleMania, and that's the one against Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 21.
Also, definitely up there.
I still think he's in that ankle lock.
Yes.
It's ridiculous how much in my brain he's just like it's like Excalibur. He who can break him out of that ankle lock shall be the next king of England. He's in it for so long.
Somewhere in a forest in Nottingham, Kurt Angle has still got the ankle lock on.
Just fully locked in.
I mean, as well, I can't remember exactly when it was. I want to say it was 2005. I think it was Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels had an Iron Man match on Raw.
I believe so. Yeah,
that went pretty hard. I mean, as well, it's not really one of my favorite matches with him, but I remember when it was Survivor Series.
Yes.
And bless Mike Knox's heart, but he got sent to the cleaners. No, I find it funny. Still now, I find it funny.
I do find it funny as well. All right, then. The time has come, gents, to talk about the two greatest WrestleMania matches of all time. And indeed, two of Shawn Michaels' greatest matches of all time. It's HBK versus Undertaker at WrestleManias 25 and 26. Now, I don't know about you two. There's a part of me that prefers 25 just a little bit more over 26. And I think a lot of that has to do with Shawn Michaels' entrance, descending from the heavens in the whole white taper gear.
The thing I have is that in my head, I'm like, WrestleMania 25 sits in my head more vividly, but I think 26 had a stronger reaction for me because of the stakes.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think for me, that's why I'm saying just a little bit more 25. I think bias there, but 26, it's still so freaking good.
I've knocked this question in my head back and forth forever, and I have to take the cop-out answer, but it's my honest answer that I actually consider 25 and 26 to just be one big match. Just separated by a year, to be quite honestly.
I don't blame you on that one. That's actually quite a good way to look at it.
Because it's like it's that classic thing of It's the Godfather part. It's the Godfather versus Godfather Part 2 question. You know what I'm saying? It's that kind of It's like 25 is the more leaner. It's the more leaner, straightforward match. 26 is definitely the more blockbustery of the matches.
It's like in my head, it's like WrestleMania 25 is like just a amazing wrestling match that also has amazing presentation and amazing visuals.
Yeah. Yes.
But like WrestleMania 26 is like the high drama.
Yeah. It's like choosing for me it's like choosing between, do I love a great wrestling match or a great WrestleMania match, which is better?
Yeah.
and I don't know. I don't have an answer. So I just like because they're both kind of, and you can't like watch one without the other either.
Yes.
Like you can't like even though like you could arguably just watch 25 and that's it. No, you got to watch 26 afterwards, and then it's like you want to watch 26, but you got to watch the context for 25. You know, it's just one big match for me.
Yeah.
To be quite honest with you.
Again, I feel like with this one, it's such a lightning in the bottle. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity that they had, and I feel they tried to replicate with Cena versus Rock to varying degrees of success, of course. But I think they can't.
I think the thing is though is that the thing with Cena versus Rock is that Cena versus Rock was only ever going to be showcase.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was being done to say you had John Cena, icon of the time, versus Rock, icon of the time, whereas HBK versus Undertaker was like a personal vendetta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's like no, like Cena versus Rock is pure spectacle, which is say what you will about like which is something I can't really give for either Undertaker HBK matches. It's like don't get me wrong, I love the once in a lifetime match. I think it's a fantastic match.
Yeah.
But it lives and dies on both wrestlers' just pure presence and charisma. Technically, it's an okay match.
Yeah.
That is elevated to God tier just from it's Godzilla versus Kong.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Whereas Undertaker versus HBK is some of the best to ever do it, doing it, and then they do it again.
Yeah. It's
It's like again, I think it's worth saying that like HBK and the Undertaker goes pretty deep.
Yeah.
It at least goes back to the 90s.
Yeah, 1990. So yeah, there was a lot riding on. There was a lot of history between these two, in the lead up to all of this. And God, did it pay off so well. The payoff for both these matches was incredible.
Yes. However, one thing in WrestleMania 26's favor, it has the running up that hill promo.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, and I guess the only heel in this whole situation would have been Sim Snooker, who was posing as the cameraman, who forgot to catch Taker at 25.
It's not even that he doesn't catch him, it's that he basically throws the camera into Taker's head.
Yes!
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Oh, man. All right. Before I get on to favourite moments, of course, we have to talk about the iconic match. The iconic match of WrestleMania 24, I guess indeed of the 2000s, which of course was Flair versus HBK career, the career match.
Yep.
Because I mean, this is a segue into moments because this match has so many incredible moments.
We talk about that match. We've talked about that match a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've talked about how only Shawn Michaels could pull it off. I seriously think that only he could have pulled it off.
Yeah, I think if Flair was going to go up against anyone else, it's not that it would have been as good as it was, but I don't think it would have been as. I think both of them, it wouldn't have been as smooth as it was, because like I've gone back and watched that match, and I'm like, Flair at the age he is at that time, still being able to do what he can, so damn smooth, and having a great dance partner in Shawn Michaels for that as well.
And it's like who, like, to be blunt, who the fuck else could call the match against Ric Flair?
Exactly.
Who gets that job?
Exactly, man. I mean, just everything about that match was
I know it's like a thing, like in like one of the great moments of the Undertaker's, like this makes sense in context, is the great moment of the Undertaker trying to get Triple H to fight him again, is like you know what? It's fine. It's fine. It's just a shame I can't get Shawn Michaels to do it again. It's just like, because that's it. You just can't.
I was gonna say, because that reminds me of the build up to Flair Michaels. Remember the old Yeller comment he made, and then Flair flipped out and slapped him in the back. I got your old Yeller right here.
Oh man, I love that. I've watched that promo so many times.
It's the second best promo line referencing old Yeller.
Yes, yes. Oh no, absolutely iconic match for a whole multitude of reasons.
It is. Even if every time I watch it, I wince viscerally when Shawn Michaels goes for the moonsault to the outside.
Yes, he ate shit and then some.
It's not. It's the fact that everything but the sidings broke. It's just standing up completely straight.
I want to know, was it, no, it was definitely Flair's idea, wasn't it? You know what, screw this, I want to do a crossbody, and this time I'm actually going to connect a crossbody.
Oh, yeah. That was almost definitely Flair's idea.
And Shawn was like, yeah, you don't even need to ask me twice, mister, I will.
So it's such a great moment.
But no, overall, as I said, I left it last because it's a nice segue into moments. Because for me, that match is so full of great moments.
Oh yeah.
Let us talk about some of our favourite HBK moments. And I'm literally gonna just start with I Just Kicked Stan.
I mean, that's definitely way up there.
Oh, I love it so much.
Dude, the future Ty Dillinger.
I don't know why.
AKA
so
Sean Spears.
I don't know why it's so funny, and of course it starts with them saying that people saying they're not controversial enough.
Well, I think that's the thing that makes it for me. It's like people are saying we're not controversial anymore, and he just decides that kicking someone in the face is the answer to that.
Kicking multiple people in the face, my
the man who takes the shot with the papers. Oh, I love it so much.
It's just the thing of like it's just
one of the great images.
Oh, it is. It's just like I just kicked Stan, and then Triple H is just like it's like I don't know if it's controversial, but it sure is funny.
There's one thing I have to say about Shawn. He has great comedy chops.
Oh, he really
does. Yeah.
Because it brings me to the next one I want to talk about, is when he cosplayed as Hulk Hogan doing a Larry King segment for their rivalry. Because he had the mannerisms down too freaking well.
That's a man who spent enough time around Hulk Hogan.
It's just him going, brother.
I mean, in all fairness, though, that is just Hulk Hogan, though. Because, like, you do a Hulk Hogan impression and you throw, like, brother at the end of every sentence. You, like, listen to Hulk Hogan, like, oh, that's actually kind of real.
I swear to God, he coated himself in treacle before he went out to do that, though.
Probably did.
Or tyre oil, or engine oil, or something. Because, God, he put too much fake tan on. I mean, even for Hogan, he put too much fake tan. Alright, gents, I will go on forever, but what are some of your favourite moments, Sean's?
I mean, you stole mine. I watched that I Just Kicked Stan all the time.
Do you want me to go for mine while you think of some others?
Yeah, go ahead.
So my first one, I mean, again, we can throw it onto the matches. Shawn Michaels versus Hogan from, is it SummerSlam 2002?
Oh,
2005.
Yeah.
Oh.
Where Shawn's just like flying around the ring for everything. He's just bumping like hell.
Oh, I love the story. I love the story behind that as well.
Because he pissed him off, innit?
Yeah, because Shawn wanted it face versus face. Hogan was having none of that, and so Shawn had to turn heel. But it did give us another great moment, which I'll get into in a minute. But yeah, so the way Shawn, kind of repaid Hogan for making him turn heel was to bump like an absolute madman.
I'm like the thing about those like the ridiculous bumps is that like Shawn Michaels is on record as saying that he does not need to sell back injuries.
Yeah.
It literally hurts every single time. So I often imagine how much he must have pissed him off that he's like, not only am I going to take bumps, I'm going to take the most ridiculous multiple bumps just to spite you.
It's the one where
Like,
he gets hit with a big boot and then stands back up and flips over again.
yeah, it's like, wow, man. I don't piss that man off.
Uh, I'd say this
Um,
leads us into another moment. God, we have to talk about that time he pissed off Montreal again.
oh, see, that's what that was gonna be my
That,
one. That was my
yes.
next one.
Stop this.
When he's there, he's in Montreal. I believe this was during the time he was commissioner for Raw.
Yes, I
It
believe
might
he
have
was,
been, yeah.
and was like
And
full
he's
here back
and he's
hero, I
and
think.
he's just there, and then he's like, it's great to be hit back here in Montreal. Everyone's booing him like hell. Bret Hart's music hits, and he just goes, "Food you,"
I got your
and
hopes
it
up just a little bit.
goes absolutely insane at him.
They are out
I
for his blood after that.
just, I I don't, nuclear heat doesn't even describe it. I don't know how, if
It
you
is
could
like the
actually
greatest example of it.
just,
Absolutely.
wow.
Um, I want to bring it up, but I feel like Little People's Cult is such a weird thing of that time of DX when you could tell that the humor was
But
just didn't match their
that was
age.
like. Yeah, that was DX when DX were doing jokes that were already 10 years out of date 10 years ago.
Yeah. But maybe it's just Sean's reaction when he's getting pelted with garbage and hit with sticks that maybe make me laugh a little bit. That he's going a bit too overboard like he did with Hogan.
I mean that because there's that there's
There's a saga of with DX that ended with them in a Hell in a Cell via just repeatedly making cock jokes to Vince McMahon.
I
Like,
remember that.
remember that? That ended with a Hell in a Cell. That is escalation to a level I don't think is possible
Oh,
anymore.
I've just remembered one. A little great throwback. The DX State of the Union address.
yeah.
Oh yes,
The
I remember
uncensored
that.
one in particular.
It's just a shame that so much other stuff from DX that time I just look at and I'm like, nope,
Yeah.
don't want to watch that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give a shout out to Shawn Michaels and God versus Vince and Shane.
Oh, God. Is it because of Vince dancing to Somebody Called My Mama as God's
No,
making his
it's
way down the ring?
no, it's just the fact that they booked Shawn Michaels in a tag match with God.
And lost.
And lost.
Which is
I tell you, the bloody balls on Vince.
That is,
the man knows no fear.
yeah, that man. I don't even know.
Oh,
I remember, you know what? I remember like on the WWE website, like back in the day, WWE, where it had like they did the bios for all the wrestlers, and it start when you go on and when you went on Vince McMahon's ones, it started with Vincent McMahon beat God. That's the first sentence.
I remember that.
Wow.
Vince McMahon booked himself to beat God.
Oh, this reminds me.
I love wrestling.
There's a great moment in their hardcore match at WrestleMania 22, Shawn Michaels versus Vince McMahon, where I say it's a combination of Michaels and JR, where he takes his poster, or Vince's poster on the cover of Muscle and Fitness, twats him over the head with it, starts trash talking, slaps him on the head, and then does the pose that Vince did. It's on the cover, but it's when JR gets his mic back, and and Sean's just about to hit him, and he goes, "Yeah, what you can do with it is you can hit him over the head with it, then shove it up his ass." Oh, I love it so much.
I'm trying to remember exactly when it happened. I want to say, I think it was WrestleMania 32. I think it was Shawn Michaels, Mick Foley, and Stone Cold.
Ah, yes, with the new, it was the League of Nations and the New Day, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then I mean, the only thing I remember is Shawn Michaels kicking Alberto Del Rio in the face. So I get the thumbs up from me.
Yeah, that definitely does. Also,
Yeah.
Austin dancing with Xavier Woods and then giving him a stunner, but you know.
Also, yes.
Oh, that was amazing. Oh, that was amazing. What a great moment.
I mean, I could talk forever about so many moments with Shawn. Like, I really could, because again, it's that thing you said, Reardon. The guy's just incredibly versatile, but also he was an incredibly charismatic and could cut a brilliant promo. Like, he was outstanding in that.
Yeah.
Truly, truly outstanding in that sort of thing.
What can I say? What can I say?
There's really not a whole lot else to say.
And to tell you what, in that case, I think that is a good way to wrap it up. But I'm going to leave you guys with... Well, actually, not leave you guys. I'm going to give you guys one more question. Does HBK deserve his plaudits as one of the all-time greats? I mean, we can talk about all of the good things that has happened. He's had great matches, great promos and stuff. But we all know, and it's no secret, that Shawn wasn't the greatest of people during his run in the 90s. But
By his own admission.
By his own admission.
But
yeah.
it takes a hell of a talent to have a great first run, come back and have a tremendous second run that is miles better than his first run.
Yeah, I think it's that second run that really does it.
Yeah.
Really, really does it. Like, by his own admission, it's like, if... Like, it's kind of funny seeing him because, like, Shawn Michaels could have easily been a Triple H type figure. In that his accomplishments would always have an asterisk of backstage politicking, of general douchebaggery mixed with genuine talent. But once he came back, was clean and actually did what he was meant to do. And I do mean that. Born to do it. There's no doubt in my mind that he is up there as one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. His like the fact that I can, like, for people who don't know who he is and what he's done, I can literally very handedly just go, oh yeah, just check out his WrestleMania matches. Which ones? Any of them.
Yeah.
Literally any of them. And you will find something to love, if not what some of the greatest matches that the WWE has ever produced. And there's no one else who can say that. The Undertaker has done bad WrestleMania matches, and he's the Undertaker.
Yeah.
There's just no one else that I can really think of like that. So absolutely. The fact that like, as a dumb kid who didn't know jack about wrestling, the technique of it, like, I just thought, wrestlers are cool because he does this and this, or, whatever. But actually, like, his talent was obvious to a child. Says a lot about him. And for God's sake, the fact that we named our bloody show after him.
I think it says it all, doesn't it? I think that's the highest honor.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Like, when we sat down, it was like, we got to name it. We named it after him because, like, for one thing, it's a great pun, but for another thing, because, God damn it, he deserves it.
Yeah.
That's all I can say, really.
Absolutely. And if you think, for me, it's a case of, if you think of wrestlers in terms of eras, I would say you would put, Lou Thesz in the 50s, and 50s and 60s. You put Buddy Rogers in the 60s. You put San Martino in the 70s. You have Hogan in the 80s. I would say you would put Austin in the 90s. I would make a claim to say that you would put Shawn Michaels in the noughties.
Mm,
I definitely think that is possible.
that's possible.
Because
I
you
think
could say the 90s, but as we've said, like as I think his second
No.
run was so much better.
No, his second one was so much better, and that was
yeah, I
owned by
mean,
Austin.
it's like I've said. It's like I've said to other people I know, which is that kind of for me, Shawn Michaels' career, or at least the early stage of it, always kind of carries that asterisk.
Yes.
But the thing is, though, is that I look at it and I go, yes, in acknowledgement of that and taking that in as a thing, it does damage part of his legacy in terms of, just not being able to feel the same about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But like the thing is, though, is I look at it again, though, and I look at maybe even just that second run, and then I think actually, really, at least in wrestling terms, I feel like it outweighs it.
I
Not to
agree.
justify or excuse it.
Mm,
I definitely agree with that one. For sure.
yeah.
Alrighty, gents. That just about does it for this episode, all about our namesake. Thoughts and feelings after that.
You know what? I actually feel really good about this episode. I really do. It's something like it. I mean, it's something that we had to talk about, but I do feel really good about this episode, especially as we are slowly encroaching upon our 50th. That it's good that we
Yeah.
talk about honestly, a big part of the reason why we're here and doing this podcast in the first place is
Oh,
him.
absolutely. Like again, like I said, for me as a young wrestling fan, he was one of those characters I was immediately drawn to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without question. I managed, getting in just around the time that Sean had left, and he was doing those sporadic appearances. But as a kind of like a fan of a couple of years, for him to come back in 2002, even then you just knew, even if you didn't know much about him, God, this guy's a big deal. And then, of course, that match in SummerSlam really solidified it and going, all right, this guy's freaking amazing.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, incredible talent. Alrighty, and actually quite good timing for our 1 year anniversary because we're cropping up to it, and our next episode, this is a biggie. This is a biggie, and I'm very nervous about this one, chaps, because
This is not to pile on more pressure, but this is our most requested episode.
yeah, and that's what makes me even nervous about this one. So it is a two-parter, and we are going to be talking about the history of World Championship Wrestling. Oh, this is going to be a
May
doozy.
God have mercy on us all. I have to reread some books.
Say, I've got to try and reread
Basically,
and
this
research.
is just a whole bunch of stuff to unpack.
There is. Get ready for a long 2 episodes, folks.
Absolutely.
was
Ready
gonna say
for a
that now.
long 2 episodes punctuated by me at the end saying WCW should have won.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Because that would be the conclusion, I think, for all us. No.
It won't be, but
So the way this is going to happen, the 2 parts, we're going to segment part 1 is going to be from the 1980s during the territory scene, starting at around Black Monday, up until 1995. And then part 2 will, of course, be from 96 all the way to 2001. But yeah, part 1 is going to be a doozy because it's a very interesting time, not only for the territory scene around that time, but of course, I've always found it a very intriguing story about Ted Turner himself.
Yeah, it is the story of literally the one okay billionaire.
And
yeah, like it is a ride trying to read into Ted Turner.
Yeah.
and his and Vince's hatred, I would say, for Ted Turner. Well, actually, no, both of them kind of don't like each other at all. But we will get into that.
I can
Yeah.
see that and completely understand why.
I don't even need. Yeah, we're gonna get into it. It's gonna be. Oh boy, it's
It's going to be a
thing.
juicy one. But until then, I have been Sam. This has been Reardon and Dan, and you've been listening to the sweet Chinwag podcast. We'll see you as ever on the next one. We're just some sexy boys. Sexy boys. Bye, everyone.
We can be your boy toys if you ask nicely.
Was that Paul Bearer there, Dad, going, ah!